I would like to direct your attention to a short video on the theme for this panel session, which is Leadership in Action.
I believe that I lead pedagogical change within our community and our sector is through my daily interactions within the classroom. It's those nurturing, caring relationships that you build with the children and with their families, as well as with your coworkers. And when you see the excitement of the children and you get that excitement with them as you continue to build on their learning journey, that excitement that you have, your other colleagues and coworkers feed off of that, and they want to know more about what it is that you're doing.
The continuous professional learning that I have taken part of over the last few years has really helped me to understand pedagogical leadership and how important it is to encourage that within our leaders and within our educators. It's so important for them to come together and grow together. It's not just that one person is the keeper of knowledge and has to teach everybody, but everybody has different skill set. We've started an online portal which helps educators stay connected and work together and learn from each other, ask each other questions, and see each other's programs, see them in action, because everybody is so different. No two centers are exactly the same.
My journey kind of started about 4 or 5 years ago. I was involved in an enriched professional development experience here at London Bridge called the Master Educator Program. I was connected with a mentor that was amazing, and she helped me along the way, just helping me make connections with people. There was one instance where I was talking about, having kids in the yard, and I was saying, there's this log, we never let them stand on it, and I said, why can't they? And she's like, instead of thinking about it that way, think about it why should they? What's the value in them doing those kinds of things? And that just shifted me completely, because it's why should they? That adds so much more value.
I think sometimes we forget that it's a career, and I think we need to really remember that we're not just there with the children. We're actually making a difference in their lives, and that's really something to be proud of. And I think for many, that's difficult to think of our job as a career. But as the changes have taken place, as colleges come into effect, that's helped the community to be aware that we are a professional. So it might have started off, slowly to be able to feel comfortable advocating for your career, but I think with everything that's been happening in the last few years, that people are starting to feel a little bit more comfortable advocating for their profession.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Valérie David Landry. Je suis éducatrice titulaire au Centre éducatif spécialisé l'image pour le Centre psychosocial. Je suis EPEI depuis 2010. Plusieurs façons. Avec mon implication au sein de l'Ordre, j'ai découvert que j'avais beaucoup plus de pouvoir. Quand on veut faire quelque chose, on peut faire n'importe quoi. Que les barrières, c'est moi qui les imposais. J'ai découvert que quand on veut quelque chose, on a juste à aller le chercher. Alors, je suis allée voir les journaux francophones d'Ottawa, puis j'ai écrit une lettre ouverte sur l'importance de ma profession, sur le pouvoir de ma profession d'éducatrice. Je l'ai présenté aux journaux, puis ils ont décidé de me publier. Fait que j'ai été publiée dans les 2 journaux francophones d'Ottawa, soit Le Droit et un journal à Vanier, un journal de quartier.
So I think the idea of a community of practice is something that sometimes overwhelms people, because it's, what is this? What does it mean? How big does it have to be? Does it something, it's this idea of this big commitment, that it's this big elaborate piece. And what I've realized is that the community of practice happens on different levels. So we've had, I think, 4 communities of practice for the Nature Collaborative that we started, and there's an online presence where we have, a Facebook group, and there's blogs, and people are, connecting that way. And then just recently, this past week, there was the community of practice we had, focusing on how does learning happen mean for us. And the feedback we got immediately was, this is really neat, because we're just hanging out and we're talking, but the ideas that came were very, very big.
It's having those small groups where people might not speak up in a larger group, but feel more comfortable to speak at a table of 5 or 6. And I had an example in a Communities of Practice series that we did a little while ago in my community, where someone at a group began to make connections. She was from an Aboriginal childcare program and began to make connections from how does learning happen to the teachings that she has been raised with. And that was very powerful because it may not have happened outside of that small group conversation.
And so now we are going to hear from 4 speakers as they address this topic. We have Shelley Brandon, a registered early childhood educator, and she's a preschool educator with London Bridge Child Care Services. She's been working in the early learning and care sector for 20 years and is actively involved in committee work and professional development initiatives at London Bridge. She regularly acts as a facilitator for workshops, training sessions, and professional learning institutes. We have Urso Whalen, also a registered early childhood educator. Laura works as program coordinator with the Children's Services City of Greater Sudbury. She received her BA in psychology and sociology at Laurentian and her ECE diploma at Conestoga in 85, 87. She was there. In 28 years of experience in the field, she has worked in a variety of settings. For the last 10 years has been working with the Northern Municipality, leading the transformation of early learning, quality improvement, and system management. In her role, Laura is a strong advocate for the profession, striving to provide relevant learning opportunities and creating a community of practice that supports transfer to practice. Faith Hale, registered early childhood educator. Faith is currently the executive director of Skana Family Learning Centre, first Aboriginal-owned nonprofit childcare centre in Windsor, Ontario. She has 29 years of experience in the fields of early childhood education, children and youth programming, community development, and Aboriginal adult education. Faith is passionate about urban Aboriginal leadership and the advancement of Aboriginal people in all levels of government. Some of her accomplishments include serving as president of her local friendship centre, the development of local Aboriginal networks, advising municipalities on children and youth services, and the development of PEACE, Progressive Early Childhood Aboriginal Centres of Excellence, a network that provides professional development and advises the Ministry of Education on Aboriginal early learning practices. Faith has a Master's of Education from Wayne State University. We also have Joseé Latulippe. Joseé has several years of experience as an educational assistant, as an educator on the Better Beginnings, Better Futures project, and as the director of a multi-service childcare center and family resource center. Today, she is the director of early years services for Conseil scolaire du District catholique de l'Est ontarien. Joseé has worked on a variety of ministerial committees, including the Transition Committee of the College of ECE and the Best Start Expert Panel, where she participated in developing the early learning framework, now known as ELECT. She currently chairs the Prescott and Russell Best Start Community Network and the Réseau Régional de Langue Française de l'Est.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I would like to share with you an abbreviated account of my experience in developing and implementing an enriched outdoor and nature program for my group of preschool-aged children. As a participant in the college's original leadership pilot project, I had the unique opportunity to develop this program as it aligned with the practicum requirements of the pilot project. I had wanted to explore the idea of developing an outdoor program for some time, and the Leadership Pilot Project provided me with an appropriate platform to put these ideas into action. In developing my outdoor program proposal, I also took the time to explore the Code of Ethics and Standards of Practice to ensure that my proposal aligned with the expectations of best practice as outlined by the College of ECE. This story really begins when a member of my senior leadership team at London Bridge Child Care Services approached me one day and asked me this question: if you could do anything in your current role, what would it be? I had always thought of developing a program where children could connect with nature and explore outdoor environments in their truest and simplest forms. This invitation to lead fueled my curiosities and motivated me to come up with a more concrete plan. The idea of an enriched outdoor and nature program was born, But in order for the program to be successful, I knew that it was necessary to engage everyone involved at varying stages: my leadership team, our families, my colleagues at the center, and perhaps most importantly, the children who would have the opportunity to experience this program firsthand. My leadership team was well aware of my passion for the outdoors. In the past, I participated in an action research project where I focused on the experiences of toddlers in an outdoor space that was free of toys and artificial materials. This research project was a major component of the Master Educator program, which is an 18-month enriched professional learning opportunity that is unique to London Bridge. As I observed toddlers at play, I was truly amazed by the ways they engaged with the space, and I began to note many positive influences that this space seemed to have on the group. The children seemed more engaged, more collaborative, and generally more settled. I also noticed how resourceful they were when it came to inventing tools to use in their play. Anything they felt they needed to enhance their play experiences, they quickly developed using items found in nature. This research project definitely influenced my decision to offer a similar experience to preschoolers. I worked through the varying aspects of my proposal with thoughtfulness and intentionality, carefully considering potential costs, staffing and ratio concerns, scheduling, and strategies to engage families and colleagues in the program. Since relationships are highly valued, I invited some members of our management team to get involved. Our facilities manager came into the classroom and sat with the children to look over their sketches for a proposed garden space. Then he graciously invited the children to help measure the physical space and prepare the gardens for planting. As a group, we also welcomed our artist in residence to join us on many outings so she could capture the spirit of our group and lead us in many creative, meaningful initiatives outdoors. Since the outdoor program proposed some very unique ideas, we felt it necessary to engage our families from the beginning. We hosted an information evening where families could hear the details of our proposal. This was also an opportunity for them to ask questions, share ideas, and explore some of the materials that would be made available to the children. We encouraged families to participate in the program however they felt comfortable, and we committed to maintaining open communication throughout. At the program's close, families were welcomed back to share stories with us and reflect together on our amazing journey. Since the space we intended to use for our outdoor classroom was a shared space, my colleague and I invited educators to come together with us so we could share details of our proposed program. We talked about our hopes for the children and for our summer together. We listened to their questions and ideas, and together we discussed strategies that could support all children and educators who use the space. Having this opportunity to communicate with one another really helped form partnerships so we could all openly share our celebrations as well as our challenges. Since this program was for the children, I felt that it would be crucial to involve them at every stage, from the initial planning to trip preparation to final reflections. We were all equal partners, free to ask questions, voice concerns, and make suggestions, and our preschoolers embraced this responsibility wholeheartedly. Our partnership with the children spoke to our commitment to being fully present and attentive as we explored our community together. We also wanted to embrace the spirit of our preschoolers by celebrating their ever-changing interests. A flexible schedule and routine meant that we were free to modify our plans to accommodate new and developing interests or to allot more time to simply linger in a space for a little bit longer. Furthermore, since this program was based outdoors, flexibility was necessary so that we could adapt to changing weather conditions on a moment's notice. At this point in the story, I want to pause briefly and bring our attention to the document, How Does Learning Happen? My experience in developing this outdoor program for my class contains evidence of each of the learning foundations threaded throughout. Belonging. By immersing ourselves in our local community, the children recognized that they were a part of something much bigger, and as a result, they began to construct a greater definition of community. Also, spending time outdoors created a sense of connectedness to the natural world. The children began to notice insects in the garden and ask questions about their habitats. What do their houses look like? Where do they go when they're sick or hurt? Do bugs have playgrounds like us? Then the group took their knowledge of community and created structures for the insects, a house for the ants, a ladybug hospital, a snail restaurant. Our definition of community grew to embrace even the smallest creatures that shared our space. Well-being. A healthy food culture is essential for our well-being. Planting a garden and harvesting fresh vegetables help the children make positive food connections. Since they were engaged in the garden project at all stages, they were excited to sample our fresh produce and incorporate fresh ingredients into daily lunches and snacks. Being outdoors for extended periods also translated into a natural increase in the physical activity levels of our group. Physically demanding explorations, such as long neighborhood walks, climbing, and balancing activities, ensured that the children maintained healthy activity levels throughout the day. Engagement. Our commitment to a flexible schedule meant that the children had extended periods of time outdoors to explore the natural environment and to fully engage in investigations and group projects. Our neighborhood walks and bus trips prompted a group exploration of maps and mapping skills. The children wanted to locate their own houses on a map, but they also wanted to find all of the places that we had been visiting. They took maps on our excursions, and we worked with an artist to create maps of some of our own favorite places. And finally, expression. In order for this program to be successful, we wanted to ensure that measures were in place that would allow the children to freely express themselves. They were the voices that fueled our curriculum, and as co-contributors to the program, the children assumed an active role in the daily planning process. Our partnership with the children was based on mutual trust and respect, and it invited each child to embrace his or her individuality. Moving forward now, I will share some of the intended as well as the unanticipated outcomes of the program, which will again highlight some examples of well-being, expression, engagement, and belonging. The outdoor program itself was portable. We carried a duffel bag with materials and guidebooks to enhance our investigations. This portability meant that we could set up our explorations in our yard space at the center or pack up and move on to a neighborhood park or green space. This way, we did not always have to negotiate yard usage times with other classrooms because we could simply take our classroom elsewhere, and this automatically increased our time spent outdoors. As we spent more time exploring our immediate community, we developed a greater awareness of all that our neighborhood had to offer. We came to know the buildings and landmarks around our center, and that inspired us to broaden our boundaries. Our walks became longer and our destinations farther away. We explored various routes while walking, which motivated us to investigate maps and mapping skills. Our definition of community continued to grow as children initiated conversations with neighbors and passers-by. In the beginning, it was my mission to introduce the children to many different places and spaces. However, with each trip, it seemed like our predetermined destination became less important than the journey it took to get there. For instance, we planned a trip to a place called Huron Woods, and I told the group about this wonderful spot at the river's bend that was shallow, and they would be able to walk out into the water. When we arrived at the woods, however, it became quickly obvious that my agenda was no longer important. Instead, the children found joy along the path, smelling the wildflowers and exploring the prickles of burrs and teasels. Then they lingered at the frog pond, and they could have stayed there all day. A mud puddle caught our attention too, and so did a soccer field, a grassy hill, and the pebbles in a parking lot. We never made it to the river bend that day, but instead the children had the power to design their own adventures, and they surprised us by choosing to linger in a few special spots along the path. Sharing our story with colleagues has inspired others at London Bridge to look more closely at their outdoor spaces. It might mean the introduction of a garden space or a unique outdoor event or installation that engages children. It looks different at each site, and it should, as educators and center teams consider how to tailor outdoor experiences so that they make sense to their own environments. For me, developing and implementing an outdoor nature program for my preschool class began as a way to support connections between children and the natural world. Now it holds a much deeper meaning as I consider how instrumental this opportunity was in developing my skills as a leader in the early childhood profession. Through a system of trust, support, and enthusiasm, I was encouraged to follow my passion and create a truly unique opportunity for my group. Our profession is full of passionate and inspiring RECEs who have the capacity to lead, and for some this might mean stepping away from their classrooms to assume a more formal leadership role. However, this does not always have to be the case. In fact, I will go so far as to say that if we are to grow our profession at all, leadership must start with the highly skilled and passionate early childhood educators in classrooms. When we invest in leadership development at all levels of our profession, we empower our RECEs to continue to learn and grow and to embrace leadership opportunities that truly speak to them. Thank you.
Hello. I'm going to talk to you about professional learning that's happening in Greater Sudbury. In our community, our professional learning is very tied to our quality improvement program. This program is divided into two levels of consultations. One is at a leadership level, which includes our EDs and our supervisors, and we call that the leadership team. And then the second level of that is consultations that happen at a program level between our quality coordinators and what we call our quality designates. Designates are assigned by every agency to lead and coordinate their quality strategies throughout their organization. In Sudbury, we've spent a lot of time thinking about leadership, about reflective practice, about how we take knowledge and transfer that to practice, and how we embed our values into those programs so that they're visible to anybody that comes into the programs. When we're looking at our professional development, we try to plan enough in advance. So we try to have an annual plan that has all of the activities in it. But we're very aware that we need to leave some space in that plan for us to be very flexible and responsive to emerging issues and topics. Of course, we always have too, when we're thinking about professional learning, that we want to support the registered ECEs that are participating in the continuous professional learning with our college. So to summarize our shift in thinking, it has really gone from this expert model to a model where we're really approaching it with that homegrown kind of feel. So when we're looking at professional learning, we want to engage the people in our community that have a large contribution to make, a very significant contribution to make. So we look at our local registered ECEs as well as other professionals in our community. We look at our special needs resourcing agency to support us as well. We look at both our community colleges, Collège Boreal and Cambrian College. We look at all 4 of our school boards to participate. We look at both of our professional associations, both the English and the French. Of course, we look to the College of ECE to guide us as well. And then we take advantage of any local consultants in our community that we can too. Before I go on to the highlights, I want to just make sure that you know that even though I'm listing these partners as individuals, we all meet on a regular basis and talk about how our professional learning is coordinated. How do we use the same language? How do we support each other in empowering the participants? And how do we always reflect our values throughout? So in the highlights, I'm going to take a look at some of our professional learning opportunities. Recognize that this is an overview of each one, and that they continue to evolve with what we learn when we offer them. They may change a little bit every time. So I talked about those quality designates and that they're leading the quality within their organizations. So we offer 6 what we call quality reflections. This is led and offered, designed by our quality coordinators with the city, with the municipality. And what they do in these programs is they look at offering opportunities for leaders to reflect, to build a community of practice, and look at recent documentation or topics that are emerging in their practice. Some of these might include things like outdoor environments and extending play there. It might be pedagogical documentation, could be partnerships with families, or it could be pedagogical leadership. We have one program that was designed and is implemented by Collège Barrière. Though it is a French community college, it is offering this program in both languages for us. And this provides on-site, hands-on pedagogical support. So we actually have a pedagogical leader who goes right into the program and strengthens the understanding of play-based learning, of child-centered play, emergent curriculum, and it really is creating energy and motivation around our community. This program is also supported by our quality coordinators, so they help to inform the educators around what the program is, and they help to prepare them to be ready for such a program. This program has really built some confidence and professionalism around pedagogical leaders. We also have another program around mentoring. This is offered and implemented through Cambrian College, another community college. And this program provides weekly coaching sessions for the mentors, though it does include the mentees at certain points during the program. It builds on the registered ECE's mentoring skill set, and it really focuses on communication skills and being able to provide authentic feedback. It also is an opportunity for those mentors to create a network and another community of practice where they can support each other in their mentorship role. Cambrian College also offers something that's not on the slide, and I really would like to bring that forward as well. And this is a series of business courses that are tailored to the early learning field. So they keep the curriculum, the expectations, and the standards remain the same as they would for anybody else taking that business course. But when they offer it for the professionals in our field, all of the examples and all of the discussions center around childcare, family supports, education. For the participants, they do have the opportunity to actually receive a post-diploma certificate by taking these courses. We also are supporting a leadership series, which was designed and offered by Child and Community Resources. This program is designed to deepen the understanding of leadership and build on the roles of the ED and the supervisors to support them in leading their organization. EDs and supervisors are divided into two groups, and though they talk about the same topics, what they talk about is tailored to the role that they play within their organization. This program also offers monthly sessions and a 2-hour coaching or mentoring in between those monthly sessions. In our community too, we wanted to take a look specifically at professionalism. So we have topics around professionalism that are identified by those leadership teams, by our quality coordinators, by our community partners, and our local consultants. And this is really where we concentrate on understanding and reflecting on our code of ethics and our standards of practice, where we ensure that we celebrate and show value to the registered ECEs and those other professionals in the field. We often will celebrate their accomplishments. And then we have specific sessions around improving specific skills such as professional writing or reporting, interviewing, succession planning, recognition. We also do a little bit of work around we do a little collective reflection on the Connects newsletter from the college. We also promote our early learning professionals to be involved with community planning. So we do have another series where we look at what type of skills or discussions should happen to strengthen the participation that our profession has in community planning and our network and our committees. These include things that we've seen as a need and just created sessions. They would include things like chairing 101 or getting the most of your committee membership, facilitation, chairing, and meaningful meeting participation, or system thinking. So just in summary, all of the early learning, we stress that it is identified by the community through the means that I've just talked about, as well as any other means we could use. We want to build leadership at many different levels through our professional learning. And we always want to bring it back to supporting reflection and those communities of practice, those discussions that we have together. We do pay special attention to transfer to practice, and so we also are looking at how can we support, especially through our quality improvement program, how can we support that transfer to practice? So how can we follow up after professional learning to make sure that those educators and other professionals have what they need? Of course, we want to support, again, the professional learning that we have with the college, and all of it really to lift up the perceived image, how we feel as being professionals. Thank you.
Doja, hello. I just want to take a moment and thank all of you for listening to what we have to say here today about leadership. I have the opportunity to, actually I don't know if my slides are up yet, but I get to talk about leadership in action and supporting children as leaders. And that's something I'm very passionate about, because I really do believe that in an Aboriginal approach, because that's where I'm going to take you. I'm going to take you to a place that probably everyone will leave here saying, yes, that makes sense. But oftentimes we don't take the opportunity to think about what is happening in the classroom, who really is the leader. And I truly believe that children lead us in all things, and especially change. Change is a process. And for me, life is always changing. I'm a grandmother. You know, there's a lot of changes. I'm still learning. My daughters tell me that, Mom, you got to learn. But for the most part, I really value the early childhood educator. I really value what we bring to the world in working and partnering with children. I believe this because my grandmother told me it's our responsibility as women that we hold that within our communities to raise the children. So men are a part of that as well. They have a role. And I may not get too far into it, but I'm going to talk to you about circles. I asked the college what their circles meant. You know, there's this beautiful little circles, I think it's snail, or am I saying it right? Yeah, anyway, they'll explain it to us later again. A whelk. A welch? Whelk. So when we talk about circles, this is a traditional teaching. It's a model that we use within our lives. Not every Aboriginal person follows this. There's some of my Aboriginal friends and family here in the audience who might say, yes, it's a way of life, but it's not for everyone. Well, I believe for me, it's the life cycle teaching. And within this teaching, it is a belief, it's a concept, but I've adopted it to my life. And so in doing so, I adopt it to the way I work with children and family and community. So I think in circles, that's what I say. I don't always speak in circles, but I do think in circles. I believe that this cultural belief is meant for human beings. That, you know, we continually go around these circles and we talk about, okay, what is it? What is it if it's leadership and children are the leaders? What are they leading us in? And I think this is important. We are taught that every human has a special responsibility at each stage of life. As infants, our responsibility is to bring joy to the world. And I think we have those experiences because when those babies are put into mom's arms, there's joy. When you receive that child into your infant room, there's joy, there's love. And not one of us would, I would say if a child, an infant was going to be harmed, would not step in the way to save that child, whatever it may be. So I know that they bring us joy. And that's it, the love that we feel. And I thank the Creator for that, because I think if we were all just hatched and we're just this old, we would know about love and joy, right? So I think everybody believes that. So that's why I say this concept is probably not new for a lot of people. As toddlers, we believe that they teach us safety. And I know this because if you take a toddler and you put him in any environment, an office, okay, we did this with Chrysler, but we invited children in. People had to put things away. Grandmothers, they put everything away when their infants and toddlers come to their house, right? We don't want them to break something. We don't want them to trip and fall, so the cords are put up. They teach us safety. So here now I get to see, yeah, children are leading us, if in fact we relationship. When we talk about children or a child, what are they teaching us? Why do I have to go to bed? Why do I have to take rest time? Why does the sun come up every morning? What is the moon? Right? Do I have to eat these vegetables? We have to find truth. And we have to tell children the truth about everything. We have to find ways. So it's happening. Again, they're leading us. When we talk about, within that relationship wheel as well, we talk about our youth. And sometimes this is difficult because youth challenge what we teach them. It's their job. And often I'm sitting with families, and I'm parents, and they're questioning, why? Why is this happening? So, and I tell them, it's okay, it's natural, it's the right thing. They will test our knowledge. So as the early childhood educator, do you see yourself in this will? We need to be there supporting children as they lead us. That's the way I believe. So within this, I also want to talk about, of course, the code of ethics, and we have a sense of belonging and well-being. Children are our responsibility. We value the rights of children. We create learning environments where children know they belong. So this is a part of who we are today, and I believe this wasn't new. This isn't a new concept. It's just one that is written today. But I believe we all value that in our lives. We foster the joy that children bring us, and we help them to learn. And they learn with us, and we learn with them. Also, we have the knowledge, and within the knowledge with the early childhood educator, that we have this professional knowledge that we're gaining and sharing with one another. And I love this because, today we're doing it. Maybe it was done in small circles, maybe it was done in communities or in childcare centers, but I believe there's an advancement today that tells us that through professional learning, we're going to be a better society. That's what I believe. And that medicine wheel approach that I'm talking about, and some of you may live by, some of you may know about it, it's going to become stronger. And we're going to see these circles connecting all over the place. And for me, that's celebratory. Like, I celebrate when I see circles. I celebrate when I can feel and experience education the way that we're doing it today. And I hope that for our leadership, our Aboriginal leadership, that they feel that as well, because we haven't been able to trust education in the past. And there's many reasons. I'm not going to get into it today, but there's many reasons. And today I'm saying I really trust and value what is happening within my practice, and I think as early childhood educators, that we constantly observe children. We prepare child-centered activities, play-based, we use those words, but this was a traditional way. This was a way of our grandmothers, our aunties, our moms to come together and create this child-centered learning. And it happened in our communities. It was organic, that's a word people use today, but it was our way of life. It was society. It was how we gifted our children the knowledge that they needed to survive, no matter what environment we were in. And we were hunting, right? Trappers. We had fires. There were things that people today, I believe in your presentation, children can get dirty. It's okay. It's okay to explore the environment because the environment has so much to teach us. So today I say that this is our way, just in a neat package. And I think probably people in here and are listening on the webinar agree that it is our way. When we look at how does learning happen, and I love this relationship wheel, and I embrace it because truly, again, it's a medicine wheel. It's a teaching. It's a great teaching. And the Ministry of Education has also designed this concept to believe that we have to relationship with children for them to flourish and grow. There's more truth in it today. That's the way I feel. The foundations for the Aboriginal knowledge that exists in me now, I can see reflected in policy. That makes a difference. And I don't believe this is just for Aboriginal people, but I believe it's for all people. That we are transforming education today. That everyone wants to belong. Everyone wants well-being. That we all want to be able to express what we're thinking, what we're learning, and that we have engagement. So I think these things are so important to growing community. I don't want to say just children, but children lead us in it. And it says we create this for children. So that's what's important to me, that these are natural ways that we seek how to be educators. As leaders, what is your view of children and families?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Wow, you have 8.
Let me count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7?
Yeah, actually 7.
Oh, wow.
I think I skipped one.
I think you did too. Try it one more time. You're excited.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, it's actually 8.
It is 8. Wonderful. You may take a picture?
Sure.
Okay.
And in looking at this video, and that's my grandson Samuel, by the way, and we were just having a day. It was a Saturday. And most of our days are like that. We fall into what we're going to learn. I don't set it up. It's not a classroom. And I think in our case, we might want to adopt some of those ways as well. But in this personal video, I'm looking at, okay, children are capable. They are competent. And I know those words are used a lot today. because we learn, we're saying capable, competent, but what does that mean? And I think sometimes it's allowing them to be leaders, right? So for me, children as leaders, it's who I am, and I believe it's who the registered early childhood educator is as well, and all of you in this room and who are working in communities with families and children to build safe environments will believe that as well. So I hope that my message did get across. I know we're going to have questions after, but I do have a question for you, and I think I'd like you to vision just for one moment yourself where you're in a situation where you're allowing that child to be a leader. Just vision that so that you can take a snapshot, and when you want to be that educator, that you will give it over to the children and allow them to be who they are, which are natural leaders in our environment. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, I have to admit, I'm very nervous. My hands are sweating, and I don't know if it's because I have a cold, or I'm nervous, or I have hot flashes. It could be the three of them. And second of the thing that I wanted to talk to you about is you might find that I'll say funny words throughout my presentation because I have to speak in English. And it's not going to be in your dictionary, but it is in mine. So if you need further information, please come and see me. So hi, everyone. Hello to people on live stream. And bonjour à toutes mes amies francophones, mes collègues et mes partenaires. En parlant de partenaires, je pense que levez la main parce que j'ai plusieurs partenaires dans la salle. I do have a lot of partners in the room that we do partner with them. So thank you, Melanie Dixon, for putting me on the spot. And it is greatly appreciated that I have this time to talk to you about two components with the Code of Ethics and the standards of practice. Thank you. And one of the things that I wanted to tell you is while I was reflecting and preparing my presentation, if we do really grab our Code of Ethics and the standard of practice, all the other documentation that's been coming out, in and out, out there, and the How Does Learning, the ELECT, the Achieving Excellence, and the Think, Act, and Learn document, everything is interrelated. So it's really easy to make the link within our practice. And, oh yeah, I have to do a couple things here, which I'm not going to go through that. But Melanie wanted me to talk to you about our fourth responsibility in the Code of Ethics, which is collaboration and leadership. And I think she thinks that I'm good about this, but I don't know. So I'll just find my notes. So in terms of collaboration, like early childhood educators collaborate with community organizations, schools, and other professionals, and they value this collaboration. I have 29 years of experience as a ECE, and there's one thing that I learned throughout my years is that in order to develop and maintain a good partnership and good collaboration, it's got to be done through authentic and positive relationship. And that goes with the children, and it goes with the adults. If you don't get that connection, it's harder to connect, and it's harder to collaborate. So that is the thing that we do collaborate. There's another thing that I had to really ask myself is, what is my own definition of collaboration? Because sometimes we do put limits on ourselves, and it is important before we go out there to know where's our limits. And sometimes those limits, they do change throughout a way of collaborating. But it is important to always ask ourselves, who do we collaborate for? And in my position, it's easy. I do collaborate for the children. I do have a job today. It's because I have children that I need to look for. And collaborating is not always easy because it means sometimes just to look back and push back. But I think that another thing that I've learned in my many years of experience as an ECE is communication is a powerful tool. And it is very important to understand everybody's expectation. And sometimes I always use the word or the phrase, if I understand you properly, this is what you mean. So I can get out of the room and know what everybody's expectation is. I'm thirsty. Is that mine or yours? It's yours. Okay. Phew. I do have a cold, you know. There's one thing, whenever I define what collaboration means for me, one thing that always guides me is to put the focus on the child. If I always put my focus on a child, then I can't be that wrong in terms of collaboration with other partners. With the Ontario Early Years Policy Framework, it says Ontario's children and families are well supported by a system of responsive, high-quality, accessible, and increasingly integrated early years program and services that contribute to healthy child development today and a stronger future tomorrow. So if Ontario wants a system, it doesn't mean one person. It means collaboration and cooperation, and to the extent of some integration, and to support our families and our children. In the document lesson thought from research, Think, Act, and Feel, the power of positive relationship making a connection, it's also true in my book, not only for children, but for the adults, like by Jean Clinton. And is that okay if we put a little video on?
Positive, responsive relationships. What does that mean? You know, we might think, oh, of course that's what we do with all of the children. But when you examine the kinds of interactions that teachers and parents have with their babies, oftentimes there seems to be a preoccupation with what activity am I doing with the child. That means that you're kind of listening with half an ear rather than fully attending to the child. Why? Well, because you don't just have one child that you're looking after, you've got a whole bunch of different children, and you've got agendas and things that you have to follow. What responsive, nurturing, positive relationships mean? That you're focusing as a priority on the quality of your interaction, not as a kind of secondary, oh, by the way, we've got a great program and we've got great caregiver interaction. We want it the other way around. We really want to dump that on its head and say, first and foremost, we have really great quality interactions with our children. And you know, we've got a pretty good program, but what you find is when you've got great quality interactions, then you see the child as competent and capable. And in many ways, you get out of the way of their learning because you stop thinking about, I'm the teacher who has to fill this empty vessel, and realize, oh my gosh, these kids are really competent and capable. But you need that mindset that says, I'm not the teacher, I'm creating the learning environment. And what is the essential ingredient? Warm, nurturing, responsive caregiving. So it means you don't say, I'll come to you in a minute when a child is upset. You have screaming in your brain, wow, this is what I need to attend to now. So the children then learn how to self-regulate, you know, that upset, you help them deal with that. Then they learn, wow, I can do this. I know if I need somebody, they're there, and they can learn how to self-regulate.
So that brings me to my next slide. I really took this video and you can transport it to different situations with children and adults. And so to my next slide is recognizing the collaborating with children recognizing their competence, their ability to think complex thoughts, their curiosity, and their tremendous potential, taking directly from the how does learning happen. And I can also make the link directly with our code of ethics under the responsibility towards children and the standard of practice number 2, which is developmentally care and education. With all the documentation that's available now, we know that collaborating with children is done by showing them that we're interested in their learning, that we're interested in their desire, in their interests, that we're getting involved in their play. We observe them in their play and interaction with other children. We just simply smile at them. We promote problem solving, demonstrate that we have confidence in them to enrich their self-help skills, self-worth, and self-esteem. We also value their abilities. Collaborating with parents, valuing them as experts who understand their children better than anyone, and who have important information to share with us about their children, taking directly from the elect document and the how does learning happen. Collaborating with parents is showing interest in, if they have a question, providing support if they need it, providing resources from other community agencies. And with all the tools that we have in digital age today, it is easy to send the parent a video with their child in action, and taking that opportunity, educating the parents about what their children are learning at the same time. We can also invite parents to our center. I'm going to have to move forward. One of the things, when I was the director of a child care center and a family resource center in Cornwall, I developed a partnership with Le Centre de Santé, which is probably the equivalency of a health family center. And what we did is we had the opportunity to have a nurse practitioner 2 half days a week in our center. We established her with a nice bureau and a nice settings for her. And the children that were sick at the child care center, they had access to our nurse practitioner, and then the parents, all they needed to do is come and get the children, and they already left with a prescription. They didn't have to go to the hospital or wait at the clinic. So that was really, really nice, because you know how parents were really busy, and so that was, it was one thing that we didn't want to do, is wait for a few hours and go get a prescription. One other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, I gotta switch this to. We collaborate with community agencies, schools, and other professionals. We understand the role of community plays in the lives of children and parents, and working with the communities in ways that benefit both. Collaborating with different agencies by inviting them to talk about their expertise to parents, to colleagues, to children. Collaborating with organization by directing the parents to their program and services if needed. Collaborating with different organizations by consulting them on a specific topic. With the School First policy, there's lots of child care centers and before and after school programs that are being offered directly in school. We have to collaborate in terms of, because we share space, because we share material and equipment. Again, this is, if you have positive relationship, that enhance that strong partnership that can develop between childcare and school settings. Participating at different tables like the Best Start networks, where we enhance and share our knowledge towards the children, development and their families, and learn new things. I'm like a man, I can't do 2 things at the same time. Sorry. So I have the question of reflection, but we'll pass on those. And our leadership and professionalism, that could be a word, Early childhood educators know that they make an important contribution to the community and to society by enhancing the status of the profession and by promoting child development and early childhood education. And to do so, as a registered early childhood educator leader, we have to stay informed and engage in new research, new approaches, new initiative, new research, ask questions, and try new things. I work for a school board as a director for the early years services. And before I used to be a supervisor, which I was under another service, the Pedagogical, from kindergarten to grade 6. And 2 years ago, the school board that I work with decided to implement a new service, which this is where I became the director of that new service, because they did believe that the early years, it was beyond kindergarten. It was including childcare, before and after school program, and the community links that in terms of being all aware about all that new initiative towards the children and families. I'm not saying that it doesn't come with, it's not always easy. I have to take my place as an early childhood educator working within a school board setting, which is a great, great challenge for me. But at the same time, we have to remember that as ECEs, we need to take our place, not someone else's place, just our place, and in order to be able to make a difference. And I know there's, with the early years team within the education system now, I know that we hear that sometimes it's not always easy, but there is successful situation. And I believe, again, with relationship and communication and collaboration, that these teams can work, because I've seen it. And but as the director of the early years program, I always to be on guard, you know? And sometimes it's just a question of language. If we talk only about teachers, it's like, cuckoo, you know, there's ECEs now within the school boards, those kinds of things. And my understanding is not because they don't want to, it's just because we're not used to that yet. So we as leaders, we need to move forward and bring that up. And there's one thing, Mr. Greaves not here, and if there's one thing that I retain, I did retain a few more things, but if there's one thing that I retained from him, is that with every situation, there is a solution. And that really stick to me. I have to go, so I really need to respect, so I'm going to have to pass, but I really wanted to talk to you. I'm really going to leave you on one note, and I've seen this yesterday at the airport. I kind of just tweaked it a little bit, and the best RECE leader sets the highest standard from themselves and invite everyone else to do so. Thank you.